Hello, my beautiful people. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. I am 3 minutes late, but it has been a day. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Cultivating Conversations. I am your host, Stacy T. Cultivating Conversations is a safe place for us to have thought provoking conversations that bring healing and wholeness and further important conversations that we may need to have with ourselves, with our friends, with our loved ones. I just want to see everybody out here living their best life, healed and whole. While I'm waiting for people to come in, today has been crazy. Today has been absolutely crazy. I just got home, and I'm tired, but I got to do what I got to do, right? Show got to go on. Didn't have time to put on lipstick. I don't even care. Whatever. So, hey, Pepper. So tonight is the last, this week rather, today, Friday, whatever, is the last installment of the Missing Piece series. So, for all of this month of April, we've been talking about what the missing piece is in our lives, where we are searching for the code, the answer. Um, oh, hey Michelle. We look for the code, we look for the answer, we look for all of the things when it comes to relationships and things. And just to give those a backdrop, first of all, thank you for all of those who are returning, my faithful ones. Thank you for those who are just joining. If you're joining me for the first time, I am Stacy T. I am the host. I'm an author, an entrepreneur, a mom, a friend, a sister, all of those good things. Hey, Tydrea. So this month we've been talking about the missing pieces in our lives that create voids that we try to fill by running and searching for advice, running and searching for the relationship, like all of those things. And a lot of the times, most of the times, if we're not healed, the things that we are looking for can trip us up. And a lot of times the answers that we're looking for, we have them, we know them, we are just afraid to deal with them. And in not dealing with them, we do a detriment to ourselves and to the people that we will come in contact with, whether it's relationships, future spouses, our friends, like whomever. We do a detriment because we run and we want to be in relationships, or we're in these relationships and we are not whole. So this whole month we've been dissecting and talking about the different missing pieces that, if we just tackle them, it can bring wholeness, and then we can be healed and whole, and then be ready to go out looking for or being found by love and healthy relationships and things like that. So one week we talked about mommy scars, daddy wounds, and mommy scars, and talking about how our upbringing, or the lack thereof, with our mothers and fathers play a vital role in the voids that we have, and how those transfer into our adult relationships. And a lot of times our adult relationships are broken because our parental relationships, meaning our relationships with our parents, are broken because they haven't been reconciled. So we don't know how to be friends. We don't know how to be present and positive, and be the person that we should be in relationships, and then be out here breaking hearts and just being messy and all of those things. And then another week we talked about who's in your ear. So we was talking about the different types of uh advice that we seek out. We are in an information age. So, everyone is a subject matter expert, especially when it comes to relationships and things like that. And a lot of times we are looking for we're looking for that perfect reason and code and things like that. And a lot of times the advice that we're getting is not the best advice. It may be coming from a good place or not. It may have the right motives and intentions or not. And it may be good for us or not. And if we're not careful, because we don't know ourselves, because we have that missing piece, we will fill that piece in with ill advice. So we can turn, like, I feel like my glasses are cooking. We can turn away a really great relationship, or we can walk into a really bad one. And then it will just like circumvent us back to point A, and then we're a mess and more hurt and things like that. So last week we talked about living. We talked about living. We talked about, the bucket list, because a lot of times, again, those missing pieces we're trying to fill with just frivolous things and things that don't matter. And what we should be doing is really, really zeroing in on who we are. Like, who am I? What makes me tick? What pisses me off? Like, what are my triggers? What are my non-negotiables? Like, what do I have to offer somebody? Because a lot of times, and I don't think I touched on this last week, but we have this long laundry list of what we want, but we have not taken the time to really assess what we have to bring to the table, what we have to give. And it's more than just money and sex. Okay. I really didn't get into that last week. I don't know why I'm saying that now, but whatever. Here we are. So we talked about that last week, and we talked about the 10 things that every person should do, but it was primarily centered around women, not secluded, not I'm hungry. I only ate like twice a day. And for those that know me, y'all know how I get when I get hungry. So I apologize now for anything that I say that may be crazy. Charge it to my stomach and not my heart. Okay. It's not exclusive of those who are single, but those who are married as well, because a lot of times we wait until we are married to do things, or we stop doing things once we get married. Because again, going back to the week before about the ill advice about how, your life is not supposed to begin until you have a boo or a woman, or hey Serena, or your life ends once you get married. Like, you just gonna be paying bills and cooking and washing clothes, and it's gonna be sexless and just whack, and just, it's like you might as well just sign your life away and just wait until you die. Like, just foolish stuff that we are told by people who are ill-advised. So that's what we talked about last week. So as customary, for those of you who are watching me for the first time, I like to bathe every episode in prayer. I like to go to God and ask God, what is it that he wants me to talk about? Because though this is my platform, it really, I don't want to sound cliche and say that it belongs to God, but I like to be in tune with what he wants, because I don't want to speak out of my own whatever. I want it to be, Holy Ghost driven, because I want to penetrate hearts and minds and cultivate minds and really get people thinking about whatever it is that, I'm talking about and we're discussing. So this week when I was talking, there's 5 Fridays in April, right? So when I started this series, I'm like, okay, well, this is weird. Normally I do series and it's only 4 weeks. So what am I going to do for this extra week? And I really did not know. I had the first 4 weeks mapped out, but for this last week, this last day in April, can we believe that it's already about to be May? Like, May is tomorrow. It's crazy. I prayed to God and I asked him, like, well, how do I round this out? Like, how do you want me to finish this off? And just one word he gave me: and that was closure. That now, I'm not saying that I'm speaking from experience, okay? Let me put that caveat there, that disclaimer. I'm speaking from, experience and the limited knowledge that I have. But closure, I feel like we've touched on a lot of the major things that keeps us from really dealing with ourselves so that we can be the best single person, the best person who's gone through a divorce, the best spouse. All of these things that I touched on this week can be interchangeable between single people and married people. Because listen, as long as you're breathing, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to do something different and do something better. Just because you're married, it's not like, well, this is who I am and they just need to deal with it. No, because we're always evolving, we're always changing. And for those of you who are married, I think you can attest to the fact that even if you've been married for a year, you're not the same person this year than you was the day that you said I do. You're not the same person 5 years. You won't be the same person 5 years from now than you are today. And with single people, you're definitely not. You're always evolving. So you want to make sure that you know who you are. You want to make sure that you know who you are. And one of the things that I have seen in my experience is that closure is a big thing that is not talked about. And it's a sticky situation because it can look a lot of different ways. So we are going to unpack that for the remaining time that we have. I promise you, I'm trying to keep this down to an hour. Okay. So I have seven, because seven is the number of completion. Today is the last day of April, and today is the last day of the last week of this series. So after this, we're closing the book or the chapter on this particular series. But I really want to talk about closure, okay? So I have 7 things that you can do to deal with closure from a bad breakup, because here, or from a breakup period. Because here's the thing, there are a lot of people who have not healed from their previous breakups. They haven't healed. Single and married. They haven't healed. They haven't reconciled correctly, even while currently married. And it's dangerous because, you do yourself a disservice because you find you spend way too much time dealing with something that is in your past. You spend way too much time and energy, just dwelling in the past, and it creates less room for you, as in your present, whether you are single and you should be working on perfecting and getting perfecting as much as we can be perfect, but just working on yourself so you can be the best version of yourself. Or if you're married and you're trying to figure out who this person is that you're with, and or the relationship that you may want to take to the next level, you do yourself a disservice. So we're going to talk about how I feel like my glasses are crooked. We're going to talk about the 7 things that you can do for closure. And here's the thing. Closure doesn't always mean that you're going to have an opportunity to sit down with the person and talk to them about what they did, or talk about your past relationship and what could I have done better, and why did you leave, and or why did we break up. And you're not going to always have that. But the absence of that does not have to mean that that's the absence of closure, or that closure is not going to happen. I'm a firm believer that closure is up to you. Closure is up to you, because listen, what if somebody passes away? Then you never get closure. There's something called reconciliation with yourself. That's not a term of anything. I just made that up. Okay. Reconciling with yourself. Okay. It's normal. It's normal. I don't know if it's a thing but it needs to be a thing, because if you don't reconcile yourself with yourself, like you can't put your all of your happiness and your future and your peace in the hands of somebody else. And if you never get it from them, that means you never get it. Where they do that at? They do it a lot, but I'm not a subscriber to that. You have to take control. Yes, and then yes, Serena, you carry those feelings into the next relationship, and then there are triggers, or and if nothing else, you're making the person that you was once with, you're making their life a living hell. You're making the person that they're with, who has absolutely nothing to do with what happened with you and that person, a living hell. It's just messy, and it's so ugly. It's ugly, and nothing good ever comes out of it. I don't care how great you think you are and how much you think you have it contained in a container or under control. You have to pay for all of that you do as a result of you not being healed. Okay, so 7 things to do for closure after a breakup. And listen, it can also mean a friendship. It doesn't necessarily have to be and I know it to be true, Serena. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic. It can be platonic. Like sometimes people, they fall out of friendship. It doesn't have to be something that is, dramatic or whatever, but dramatic or not, having the conversation and getting that closure is paramount, just so that you're not dealing with the future friendships that you have, the future guys, for men that want to be a bro, and you kind of like, nah, I'm good, or for ladies, well, women who befriend females, women. I don't really like the word females. They befriend women, and they're like, well, I don't need no new friends. I'm good out, because women are catty, and you miss out on great relationships, great opportunities, like all types of things. We don't want to do that. Okay, so this is not only wherever the shoe fits in the context of your life, whether it's relational or platonic, regardless of what it is, what space it is, or who it is. It's really about getting that closure, so that that void and that missing piece can be filled effectively and positively, so that you can have meaningful friendships and you can have meaningful relationships, especially if you plan on being in a relationship and desiring marriage one day. Okay. So, number 1, okay, know that closure is available with or without the person. Okay. Know that there is closure available with or without the person. There are so many people that are walking around bitter because they didn't get the vindication that they felt that they deserved. They didn't get the conversation that they felt that they deserved. They didn't get the apology that they felt like they deserved. It just seems like everybody just went on with their life. Maybe they're in another state. Maybe you see them every week, and they don't have a care in the world about actually sitting down and saying, listen, I was wrong when I did X, Y, and Z, and I know that I hurt you, and I want to let you know that I recognize that, and I apologize. In a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, we're not in a perfect world, right? Maybe the person has died, so there's no room for closure. So like I said a couple of minutes ago, what do? You just walk around with this gaping hollowness in your heart and in your mind and in your feelings. And then, because whatever you don't fill that void up with, it's going to be filled with something. So if it's not filled with forgiveness, it's going to be filled with unforgiveness. If it's not filled with reconciliation, whether you reconcile to yourself, then bitterness and resentment and all of those things come out, and all of those things have a voice. Okay, forgiveness has a voice, unforgiveness has a voice. Love has a voice. Hate has a voice. Bitterness has a voice. I remember my sissy Athena. I think she preached. We was on a platform. We was preaching, and I think she preached about those things having a voice. And you can if you listen and you let somebody not even talk for a long time, just talk for a moment about any given situation. Sooner or later, the hurt and what they feel is going to come out. Is going to come out in their actions and their words. And that's because you have not sought closure. And sometimes that closure just has to be with yourself, just saying, like, you know what? It happened. And my closure is going to be that I'm not going to allow the conversation that should have been had, the apology that should have been given. I'm not going to allow that to run me. I'm not going to allow that to dictate my life and my feelings and my present and my future and my friendships and my relationships and the people I come in contact with, whether it's in the supermarket, the barista, the barista, is that how you say it? The barista at Starbucks, or if you actually meet somebody that may be in interest. I'm not going to allow the things that happened in the past to dictate. I'm going to seek my own closure. And how that closure comes, you have the conversation with yourself, and then you take it to the Lord in prayer. And you talk. I spoke about this before. I did a class, I think 2 years ago, and the class was one of the parts of the class was I had to barista. Okay, thank you. I'm going to put that up for everybody so we all barista. I had a class, and one of the classes was about really emptying yourself of all of the gook and the things that are not uh, productive and effective in your life. Because the school that I'm in, they are a proponent of, you can't, as a minister, a clinician, a counselor, anybody, you cannot pour from a place of emptiness, and you cannot give sound advice from a place of hurt. So for one of my assignments, I had to check into a hotel for 24 hours, and I couldn't. I had to do it twice. The first time I couldn't speak. And I just had to listen to what the Holy Spirit was saying. But the second one was, I had to make a list of all of the people who had hurt me. And I had to put next to their name what they did. And I had to spend as long as I had to within that 24-hour period in that hotel room with me and the Holy Ghost. And I had to pray for them. I had to speak audibly about what they did. And I had to audibly testify and declare that I forgave them. Without them even knowing. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't a let me call you, let me set up a meeting and bring mediators, or let me text you, or let me inbox you on social media and get it out. It was between me and the Lord. And it was that's how I got my closure. Because first of all, the list was too long for me. I would have exhausted myself. It just would have been a mess. Like, some things doesn't even merit a conversation, because and the people know what they know what they did. They know what they did. And some people are bold enough to not be unapologetic about what they did. It was too much. But it wasn't about them. It was about me. It was about me seeking the forgiveness and me making sure that when I went to God, because here's the thing, after all of that, I still got to commune with God. Okay, I still have to have other conversations about prayers and petitions and intercession. How am I interceding for people and I got hatred in my heart because of what somebody else did? How am I praying? How does that look? How am I daring, having the unmitigated gall to actually go to God and ask him for anything? And I know that I have all, this stuff that can mount up to malice and all of how does it work? It doesn't. It does not. So I had to reconcile with myself, okay? And be free as a bird and see the people and converse with the people. And when they need help, I'm helping them. I'm praying for them. When they need whatever it is that they need, I'm there with them. You need a referral for a job, you need a reference, you need prayer, you need whatever. Never a conversation. I wasn't like, yeah, well, I was in the hotel and I not necessary, because it was about my reconciliation so that I could be free. Okay. So closure is available with or without the person. Okay. Number two, now these is closures after a breakup. Okay. Whether it's platonic or romantic, go cold turkey with the contact. Go cold turkey. Okay. Do what you need to do in order to regain and protect and put a boundary around your peace. We're talking about the missing piece. We're talking about the void. And sometimes that hollowness, it's like a ditch. And we're playing in that sandbox, if you will. We're looking at, the contacts. We are accepting phone calls, text messages from people that's our past, and we're leaving the door open. Excuse me, we're leaving the door cracked. And what we're not understanding is, oh, excuse me, we are blocking space for all of the goodness to come our way, because we have, whoever blocking. We have whoever blocking us. Go cold turkey with the contact. Delete the number. Delete the contact. Facebook is fabulous because you can snooze people for 30 days. You can hide posts. You can block. You can have a whole block party. I've had block parties and I have no problem with it because I have to protect my peace. Okay. So number one, know that closure is available to you with or without the person. Number two, go cold turkey with the contact. Number three, don't be a social media creep. Kind of goes into number two, because here's what happens. Comparison is the thief of joy. Okay. Comparison is the thief of joy. And regardless of what the ship is, whether it's relationship or it's a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship, social media can trip us up. So we are looking, if it's a friendship, it's like, oh, we're not friends anymore, but she's friends with so-and-so. So when I see it now, I feel a way. However, whatever it was, don't be a social media creep. If it's relationship, definitely looking to see if the person is with somebody else, where they're going, if they're happy or not, and you're kind of wishing that they're not. That's the hollowness in the sandbox that you're playing in. Okay. And what do we know about a sandbox? A sandbox is typically occupied by children. So these are children's games that we play when we do that. Don't be a social media creep. Okay. Number four, get rid of old remnants of them. All right. So whether you have to delete pictures off of social media, old articles of clothing, whatever it is, it's really, really about the reconciliation and getting closure so that you can make room, because you can't make room for newness, whether it's new friends or new, relationships, if you're still holding on to those old things, whether they're tangible or they're psychological. Let them go. And the psychological is a little bit different than the tangible, because you can throw stuff away, trash it, give it to somebody if it's something that can be given away. Like, you can do whatever. But the psychological is different, and it is harder, because with psychological, you can be somewhere and it be a reminder of, like, oh, well, me and so and so used to hang out there, like we used to go to lunch, and remember when we went here and we did that. That can be a little bit harder. So with that, you may want to make new memories. Okay. But listen, new memories, I'm not talking about trying to run and find somebody to make the new memories to erase. Okay. This is the work that you have to do by yourself. And a lot of times we try to find closure by finding somebody else to fill in that void. We try to find somebody else because we feel like the other person or the new person is going to erase the old person. There's this saying, and it's a saying. It says the only way to get over your old whatever is to get under a new one. Now, of course, I don't subscribe to that. What I'm saying is those are the type of things that happen, and we have to really do an assessment to see whether we are really healed from our past. Okay. If you spend more time, trying to one up your ex and his or her, new boo with your life, again, the sandbox, you're playing children's games. Like for what? That means that you have not gotten over that person. And there are people who are married. Just because you're married does not mean that you have reconciled your past relationships. And what you don't want to do is your current spouse or the person that you're with, they're doing something and you're getting irritated or whatever, and you don't even understand, and they don't understand why you're getting irritated. And you're getting irritated because this is a part or a place that they are touching or walking on, and it's a reminder for you, or there's so many layers to it. So again, the closure and the work has to be with you. It has to be with you. And this is just not for single people. This is for married people as well. You got to let the past relationships go. There's no reason why there should be an ex that is brought up in a conversation with you. And I notice this is hard, so everybody breathe in and breathe out. There's no reason why there should be a conversation about your ex in your atmosphere, in your environment, and you just go straight to the jugular and start dogging them and dogging who they're with. That is a telltale sign that you are not over it. You are not over that person, and you are not over what happened. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care how happy you claim to be. There's some unresolved things that you need to be resolved of, because if your past is your past, then that's what it should be. That's what it should be, and that's on period, and that's it. So when you hear the person's name and it shouldn't be, because especially if you're in a relationship. Because listen, okay, when you're single and you break up with somebody or whatever, everybody always wants the person that they were with to date down. They don't want them to upgrade for whatever reason. Like, it has nothing, I believe, it has nothing. Two people not working out just means they didn't work out. That's all. It doesn't have any bearing on any stain on you unless you put it there, unless you feel whatever. You know what I mean? So, it just shouldn't be that. And you go your way and the other person go their way, and then life goes on. It's simple. It's not hard. It's not hard. And this is coming from a person who is divorced and has had some experience with failed relationships where I have every reason in the world to vilify and drag and do all of that. There's no reason because I'm healed and I'm where I'm at now. I've taken the lessons that came with what happened. I bid you well, and that's it. It's not hard. Okay, I won't say it's not hard. It is hard, but it's more how hard it is depends on us. It depends on our ego. It depends on our pride. Okay. Because when I was going through what I was going through, I wasn't concerned with other people. I was concerned about getting the healing. I wasn't concerned about people's opinions and stuff that was swirling around. It was about me and getting in the face of God and understanding what the lessons that needed to be learned and getting the healing that I need so that I could move on and not go down that rabbit hole of bitterness and anger and being malicious and vindictive and all of those things that are just so ungodly and so ugly. Okay, so that was number 4. Number 5, free yourself from I kind of just touched on this. Number 5, free yourself from negativity. Don't put your ex down. Your ex friend, it's disheartening when people fall out of things just don't work out, or seasons change or whatever. And the first thing that we go to doing as a defense mechanism is to pull out everything that we can to hurt the person, whether it's an old, like a friendship or a relationship. We just go to wanting to hurt. We go to wanting to, just say all manner of things to get people to have their opinions swayed of the person because you're hurting. Like, that's the sandbox. It's childish, and it shows that it's not going to bring you closure. That's not going to bring you closure. It's just stirring a pot of ugliness, and it's just ugly and it's hurtful, and it really speaks more to you than the person, especially if the person is not saying anything. Like, the person is just like whatever, and you're just like all over the place, just reckless with your mouth and doing whatever. It really makes you look bad. It makes you look bad, and it is very, very telling that there is a piece, a hollowness that's missing, that's preventing you from being whole, so that you can be in your present, so that you can get ready for your future. Anybody that is dwelling so much on the past, what's going on with other people and what happened with them with this and the third, even if you feel like you're valid, even if you feel like you're justified, you're not healed, baby. You're not healed. There's a void. I don't care if all of the other things that's happening in your life looks amazing. You're not healed. You're not healed. And that's what it is. And you need to seek that closure so that you can be healed. Okay. So that was number 5. Don't free yourself from negativity. Don't put your ex down. Number 6, identify what is missing and rebuild your life. Identify what is missing and rebuild your life. Because a lot of times, especially when you're in a marriage and the marriage dissolves, a lot of who you were kind of goes away with that, or a lot of who you was kind of disappears while you're in it, because you're a whole new different person. You're a whole new different person when you come out of being in a relationship or a friendship. Because listen, before you meet new friends, figure out what you want to do so you know the type of friends that you want to have. For instance, if your friendship that you once had was riddled in gossip, like all they did was gossip. You go out to eat, you gossip. You go on girls trips and chat rooms, Zoom calls, whatever, and all you do is gossip, and you come out of that friendship, you got to figure out what was missing. So what was missing? Okay, great conversation. Okay, what was missing? Having a vibe with someone that's a sisterly connection where we're not spending all of our time with the latest tea of what's going on with somebody, but somebody that is doing something productive with their life, somebody that's really shaking and moving. They're an entrepreneur or they are an executive, in their field. And I'm trying to get up in the ranks with my job, or there's somebody that's in the field that I want to get into. Those are the type of women that I need to be in contact with. So let me rid myself of what was and get myself in a healthy place so that I can welcome, healthy friendships and know what it looks like and know how to act accordingly, so that if I come across a new group of women, I'm not exemplifying or dragging old habits of starting fires and trying to ignite dissension in things, because that's what I came out of in my friendship. All right. In a relationship, going out, doing fun stuff. When I went through my divorce, and I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, when I went through my divorce, I had to find single friends because, well, did I have single friends? I really didn't have single friends. All of my friends were married because most of my friends were childhood friends. So everyone was married, and those who were single, they was just on a whole different whatever. So I knew that I needed to find single women that were healed and whole and doing this thing right, and we could go out and kick it, and they wasn't whatever, because I at that point I wasn't healed and I wasn't whole, and I did make some mistakes by getting mixed up with women who were not healed and whole, and it ended up being like not to my liking. But that's because I didn't do the work beforehand. I was navigating and trying to find friendships while I was going through my healing. And so I didn't recognize the red flags, even with friendships. There's red flags in friendships. Red flags are not just for relationships. Red flags are for friendships as well. What does a red flag for friendships look like? If somebody is always gossiping and talking about a lot of people, 9 times out of 10, you're on that list. And the only thing that's going to change is the circle. And then you become the object of the conversation. So there are red flags. I couldn't recognize those red flags. So, it was a lesson to be learned. But, though, just identifying the things that are in your life now that you're coming out of this friendship or this relationship, and then working to rebuild. Everything that I'm talking about tonight and everything that I've talked about these last 5 weeks, these last 4 weeks, is about internal work. Nothing that I've spoken about is about external partners except for a therapist. That's always in order. I'm a big proponent of getting therapy and coaching when the coaching is when the time is right, because there's a difference between coaching and therapy. There are places and there are certain places that coaches can't go to because they don't have the credentials for it. There are certain things that happen that you need a therapist who has the credentials to help you. And I really believe that it should be therapy first and then the coaching, depending on what the situation is. Everything doesn't need a therapist chair, so you can go into coaching, but there are some things that a coach ain't going get it. And if you have the right coach, if you have the right coach, they will acquiesce and say, that's a little bit above my pay grade. Here's a list of therapists that you need to talk to hash out that piece of what you're going through. And when you get that together, then you can come to me and I can coach you on the rest. Okay, that was just a little caveat. I'll give that to you for free. Okay, number 7. I'm doing really good. It's 45 minutes. Okay, number 7. This is a tough one. Okay, number 7. Let me go through all the first 6 first. For those of you who have joined late, welcome. We're talking about the Missing Piece series. This is week 5, and this week we're talking about closure. Being a missing piece that is preventing us from being healed and whole so that we can have meaningful relationships and friendships. So number 1, know that closure is available with or without the person. Number 2, go cold turkey with the contact. Okay, this is how to get closure after a breakup. Number 3, don't be a social media creep. Number 4, get rid of remnants from them. Get rid of remnants of them. So anything from the past that reminds you of them, whether it's tangibly or psychologically. Number 5, free yourself from negativity. Don't put your ex down. Number 6, identify what is missing in your life and rebuild your life. Okay. Number 7, accept your role in what happened. Accept your role in what happened. It's a hard one to swallow. Whether your role in the breakup or your role in the acceptance of the relationship. Because I'm going to hit you with the headliner, okay? There are some relationships that if we look back in hindsight is always 2020. There are some relationships that we had no business being in. And if we knew then what we know now, and if we had discovered about the things about ourselves that we know now, we would not have entertained that person or that friendship. We wouldn't have entertained it. So not saying that we place blame on ourselves, but it's about taking accountability and owning it. Okay. It's one of the biggest lessons that I learned. I learned it every time a relationship did not go well. All of them, I always had to take a moment to sit back and assess the relationship. Now, by nature, I am very analytical anyway, and sometimes it works to my advantage, and sometimes it does not, because I can drive myself all the way like loopy. But when it does work to my advantage, I really think like, why did I accept this person that chose me? Because you know that just because a person chooses you does not mean that you have to choose them back, right? Let me say that again. Just because somebody chooses you does not mean that you have to choose them back, ladies. Because we know what the Bible says: he that findeth wife, the man, seeks, he's a hunter, he finds the woman, but it doesn't mean that you have to be found by him. We have, we have say in it. And a lot of times, speaking specifically to women, there are some relationships that we could have and should have bypassed, but because we didn't, and we saw potential or whatever it was, we ended up in a place where we could have did without. But it was a learning. The Lord is sovereign. He works all things together for his good. And that's just what he does, because he's God. But we could have did without, we could have did without it, but God knows. But everything is a learning, so we dissect those things so that we know for the next time. Okay, there are things that I have learned in my past relationships that I know next time. I just move differently in a whole bunch of different areas because I've learned. So it's about accepting your role. Because here's the thing: when you accept your role in the breakup, or or the acceptance of what you should not have accepted, it puts you in a place of self-compassion where, you know, I can't really go in. I'm speaking metaphorically, like I can't really go in on him, or I can't really go in on her, because truth be told, had I not done X, Y, and Z, then we would not be here. Or had I not accepted X, Y, and Z, this wouldn't have happened, or that wouldn't have happened. And when you do that, it's called adulting. It's called adulting. It's called adulting because every person is not 100% perfect in anything. Everyone has their role to play in whatever. So whatever that is, it behooves us after a friendship, or I wasn't a great friend. Like I wasn't there for her like she was there for me, or whatever. Or maybe we just outgrew each other. No bad blood. We just don't hang out with there are people that I don't hang out with anymore. No bad blood. It just is what it is. Now, some of those friendships, they were kind of shifty the way things ended, but even still, like it is what it is. And that's just what it is. And while I can pull out all of the bad things, and me being offended, and being the victim and all of that stuff, but there were good times. And that's with nearly every relationship, friendship. There were some good times. There were some good times. There are some things that you can look at the person and say, you know what, that was fun. I ain't rocking with you like that no more at all. But that was fun when we went out and we did that, or we took this trip, or we hung out, or we did this. That was cool. We ain't rocking like that anymore, but it was good. It was good. So yeah, we accept your role. It's adulting, and all of these things is about being an adult. And the sooner we can be an adult and step out of the sandbox and stop playing, the childish games that put us in whatever light for whatever reason, we can then fill in that void. We can fill in that void. We can allow God to fill in that void. And then we can seek meaningful friendships and relationships, because it's really not until we do that work that we can have a meaningful relationship. Every friendship that you have, the bond that keeps it together should not be the tea from the last relationship or the last friendship and what they did. I'm leery of people now who, and it doesn't happen because I think people can kind of like read my spirit and know that I'm not with that. I'm leery of people who got all the tea on everybody, and you want to try to feed that to me for what? Like, what are we gaining from this? And it's just the adult like mentality. It's just the adult thing to do. Like, that's the bond that keeps us together. How can I expect you to pray for me if I need prayer and I'm in dire straits, when you out here with your feet quick to mischief? And I think it's the scripture in Proverbs 6:16, or 16:19, when it talks about the 6 things that the Lord detests. And it talks about, a lying tongue, and feet that's quick to go swift to spread discord among the brethren. Like, how am I how we're not equally yoked? And you can be unequally yoked with friends. Owning your role. Owning your role. It's really about owning your role and your acceptance, so that when you're coming out of that friendship or that relationship, you're coming out knowing your faults and your good side, what you had to contribute and what wasn't so great, so that you can fix it. We want to fix ourselves before we move forward. So that's what the closure is about. And again, like I said in the beginning, it's not always going to be that you can sit and have that conversation with the person and be like, listen, like, can we have a talk? Now, if you can, fantastic. Fantastic. Because there's nothing greater than having an adult conversation where people can be honest about what they've done. And we can walk into this conversation saying, like, listen, I'm gonna listen to you and see things from your vantage point, and put myself in your shoes, and then we're gonna do vice versa, and then we're gonna talk about how, I hurt you or you hurt me, or whatever, and we're gonna squash it, whether we move forward and hang out from this point, you know up for debate. And everybody that you forgive, you do not have to reconcile with to the point where y'all are back buddy buddy, but the reconciliation should be to the point where you're not speaking ill of them. Okay, that's closure. That's what closure looks like. Closure looks like being able to be in a room with them, be in a place with them, be in a situation where they are around, and you're not moved by them one way or another. You don't get the things in the pit of your stomach where you just be like, oh, I cannot stand to just this person. You're not healed. You're not healed. You can't move. You don't want to do certain things because you just, now I'm not talking about you got to sup with them and eat with them and hang out with them and do all of that. I'm just talking about them being in the same environment as you, because it's very easy. And I was saying this to somebody, it's very easy to say that you have forgiven somebody when you don't have to see them. It's very easy to swing from the I've forgiven and the Lord and I'm good and this, that, and the third, when you don't have to have anything to do with them at all. You ain't got to see them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to you don't have to breathe the same airspace. You don't have to do none of that. But what about the people that you have to see, that you can't get away from? The test of your closure is if you can be with them and be your authentic self. Okay, your authentic self, without putting on and being phony and all of that, without a care in the world. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I promise you it can be done. And I'm gonna give you a secret on what helped me. My prayer my prayer to the Lord was that He would allow me to see people through His lens, that He would allow me to see people as He sees them. Because we, in our human frailty, when we see people, because we are mere mortals, we are flesh, we see people with our eyes. And our eyes are connected to our memory, our heart, and all of those things. So when we see people, we see what they did. We see what we've heard about them. We see what they've done to us and whatever. When God sees them, and I'm talking about, when God sees them, He doesn't see that. He sees somebody who needs help, who needs healing, who needs wholeness, who needs deliverance, who needs compassion, who needs patience, who needs understanding, because there are things that are naked to the human eye that we don't see, but God sees, because He's all seeing and He's all knowing. And that's not to say that we're all seeing and we're all knowing, but if we can pray and ask God to show us people for how He sees them, and we mean that, God will start to show you the heart of the very person that has hurt you, that has done whatever. And when you start to see, and I'm not talking about from yeah, I see your heart because it's wretched and the Lord showed me. I'm not talking about that because that ain't the right spirit. That's not the right spirit. I'm talking about from a place of compassion where you can see the why, where you can, as much as the Holy Ghost would allow you to see, you can see the paper trail as to why they did what they did and they are who they are in this present moment. And when you can see that and get to a place where you can pray for them as you pray for yourself, baby, that's a closure that is unmatched. That is a closure that is unmatched. It doesn't come with piety. It doesn't come with like any type of egotistical, like, yeah, the Lord showed me about you, so I'm gonna have compassion on you and I'm gonna forgive you because of it. Doesn't have that. You see the human frailty of the person, because listen, we all have it. TD Jakes, I can't remember the book that he wrote, but he talked about at some point in our life, we're either going to be the offended or the offender. So it is um quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Obnoxious. It is quite obnoxious for us to always be at a place where everybody has hurt us and we've never hurt anybody. Because that was the other thing. And I always talk about this when I talk about forgiveness. We're always talking about who needs forgiveness from us. But we rarely seldom talk about who we need to seek forgiveness from, who we've hurt. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Like, I can talk about who hurt me until the cows come home. But what about when I hurt somebody? Did I apologize, seek peace, and pursue it? Have the conversation, allow them to talk to me about how I hurt them without a rebuttal, without a, oh, well, if you feel that way. No, you did what you did. Or if you did what you did, or no, I didn't mean, like, just having the dialogue, just having the conversation. And I'm not talking about you did what you did and you really didn't do it and they whatever. Like, no, it's blatant and it's obvious and everybody knows it. But whatever. Having those conversations, we got to have those conversations, and we got to keep the same energy when we hurt people as we give when we've been hurt. That's what closure looks like. And let me just, just speaking to this, and then I'm going to end, closure for those who have hurt people. There's closure for you too. There's closure for you too. Okay. And I believe I've said this before. If you are the person who is in need to be forgiven, sometimes your reconciliation has to come within yourself, because the person that you've hurt is not ready to forgive you because of how hurtful the offense was. You have to reconcile with yourself. Like, I know that I've gone to God and I have reconciled with him, and I'm sorrowful and I'm repentive. Okay, meaning that I'm sad that I did what I did, and I'm repenting, meaning that I'm turning and I'm doing something different from now on, and I'm not going to do that again. Okay, but if the person is not, whatever they're feeling, because some people, they don't want to forgive because they feel like that there's strength in not forgiving you. There's power in that. They feel like they have something over you. You can take that power back. You don't have to let that power rest in the person that you've offended. Especially, I won't even say especially, when you are sincere about your apology, and you're sincere about what you've done, and you lay all the cards out on the table, and they still choose to do X, Y, and Z, it's not on your hands anymore. Because here's the thing. The God of all grace, he has forgiven, and we're not God. But if we, especially if we claim to be believers, you know, we have to forgive like him. So if the person wants to stay in that space where they feel like they are empowered by holding on to what has happened, because it's more empowering to be the victim than to move to victor with getting your healing. If that's where they want to stay, that's not where you have to stay. That's not where you have to stay. So I pray that you, those who have offended, that you will be courageous and adult enough to have the conversations, to close those doors and those portals and those areas, those voids in your heart where you're carrying shame and guilt and all of those things, and be healed, so that you're not carrying shame and guilt and those things into your future relationships and future friendships. Those are the 7 ways you can seek closure after a breakup, be it friendship or relational, platonic, platonic or relational. I need to eat. So that concludes this series, The Missing Piece. I hope that you all have enjoyed it. I know I have, because anything that I talk about is always a point of reflection for me, where I'm thinking about areas and thinking about things. And listen, forgiveness, it's a process. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's hard, but it's, as my bishop would always say, it's more up to you than it is up to God. He will do the work, but you have to give him something to work with. That's good. He will do the work, but you have to give him something to work with. So if you are willing to be rid of the the things, whether it's having a conversation with your family members, amen. I need to eat. Um, excuse me, I'm a lady, y'all. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but I'm belching. I don't know what's happening right now. Whether it's a conversation that you need to have with your parents, if you can, or the siblings, cousins, friends, whatever. Like I said in the beginning, cultivating conversations is about us out here living our best life. And I know that these concepts and these topics are, they can be hard and they can be a hard pill to swallow. But listen, if we're not doing the work, then we're walking around broken vessels, just seeping all over everybody and not being our best authentic self. And it takes so much energy to perpetrate a fraud. It just takes too much energy. It just takes too much energy. But it takes a fraction of that. If you will be bold and courageous enough, it only takes a fraction of that to put on your big girl britches, your big boy drawers, have those conversations, and seek the healing so that we can fill in those missing pieces and be the best, the very best version of ourselves. Okay, beloveds. So, thank you for tuning in. If you are catching the replay, thank you for catching the replay. Thank you for watching. Like, share comments. I love everybody's comments. Everyone who does a watch party, I appreciate you. Everyone who comments, whatever it is that you do, celebrating this platform, I really, 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 really appreciate it. I love you all. I pray God's healing and wholeness in your lives, in your relationships, in your friendships, in your marriages, your future marriages, your businesses, whatever it is, whatever endeavor. I hope that we take these takeaways away from this month and we put them to practice. This is up on YouTube, it's up on Facebook for you to look at and watch as many times as you please, whatever it is that you need to do. Um, do it while we have time. Do it while we have time, because time waits for no one. Outside is about to open up, and we want to be out here living our best life as healed and whole as we want to be. All right, so I'm going to pray, because I feel like I need to pray at the conclusion of this series. And then I'm going to let you all go. All right. So all hearts and minds clear. Amen. Okay, let us bow our heads and close our eyes. Gracious God, our eternal Father, God, thank you for this series. Thank you for birthing this series, knowing what your people, your children need, God, because you are all seeing and you are all knowing and you are all powerful, God. So thank you for each and every week. Thank you for the seeds that have been deposited. And I pray, Lord, that something will be cultivated in the heart and the minds of those who have watched or who have listened. I pray that there is something being cultivated, that something has been cultivated, and that those seeds are growing even right now and will continue to grow as we leave from this platform, but never your presence. That something will be tugged at the heartstrings of those who are watching, so that we can seek healing and wholeness. I speak to every single man and every single woman, God. I pray, Lord, that you will give us the urgency to rid ourselves of the things that are not conducive to the relationships that we desire, the relationships that we are currently in, and our relationship with you. And God, I pray for those who are married, God, that they would even get something from this, God, that they will go back in the recesses of their mind, if they need to think about the different types of relationships and friendships that are a hindrance or a detriment to their marriage, God, because we don't want to see another divorce. We want to see marriages healed and whole and thriving, to give those who are single or single again hope. So God, I thank you for pouring this into me, and I pray that I poured it out the way that you gave it to me, God. I pray that you continue to cover me, cover my children, cover my family, Lord. And until we meet again, God, I thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to minister and pour out and kick it with your people. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, people. I love y'all. Don't forget, drink your water, wear your mask. It's windy outside, so hold on to your wigs, because I ain't got a wig on, but hold on. If y'all wearing wigs, make sure that joint is tight, because it is windy outside. Okay, it is not a game outside. I love you guys, and happy May. Happy May. Let's keep moving in 2021 and doing what we need to do. So I love you guys, and I will see you maybe not next week, because I think I'm going to be out of town. So I'm not sure, but I will let you guys know. All right. Love y'all. Have a great weekend. Peace out.